Well, the Caribbean nation of Haiti has endured a series of tragedies in recent months. In July, the assassination of the country's president destabilized its already fragile government. Then in August, an earthquake killed more than 2,100 people and shattered homes. It was already the poorest nation in the Western Hemisphere, but Haiti is so much more than the sum of its misfortunes. It's a land with a rich history and culture. And that's why this man, award-winning DJ and producer Michael Brune, is working to show the world a different side of his country. You may have heard his song Positivo. It was the theme song for Telemundo's coverage of the 2018 FIFA World Cup.
Venga, yo le paso la buena vibra, positivo, porque la vida es una y tenemos que gozar, yeah.
A great song there. Well, through his activism, Brune is also working to improve the lives of Haitians in many ways, including through his music and education.
Part of education is that once you have the tools, you want to be able to act. You want to be able to use those tools and make an impact. Because music is such a far-reaching tool in the country, I just want to find artists and want to find people and producers and engineers and all kinds of different music-educated youth who want to make a difference in the country.
Well, time now for the exchange and my interview with Haitian DJ and producer Michael Brune. You, of course, are known for blending your music, using Haitian styles and Afro beats from Nigeria. Talk to us about the collaborations that you do and why your music resonates with people.
An important part of the music that I make is about bridging cultures. So to me, the collaboration between Africa and the Caribbean is a historic one, and it's one that the sounds and the cultures just blend so well. And it's been a big part of what I've been creating recently. So working with artists like Mr. Easy, Shirazi, Kalo, so many other artists from the continent as well. And as an artist, I really just try to do different bridges of music across cultures. So with J Balvin and the World Cup anthem Positivo and his album Colores that we won the Latin Grammy for, that was another way of doing that. In collaboration with Arcade Fire and working on music with them in New Orleans, that was another way. With Maxwell in New York, I think all of these different artists, what they're doing in their regions and in their genres, I try to find the complement of that in Haitian culture and Caribbean culture and create new blends.
And you are now based in New York, but your heart is in Haiti. From what I've read, you want to reframe the way the world looks at Haiti, because it is a country that has dealt with plenty of natural disasters, including the recent earthquake. It has obviously poverty issues and political problems, including the recent assassination of the president. But there's so much more to Haiti than that. Just give us your perspective on Haiti and how you want to change the narrative.
I think it's very important in the scope of me as an artist to amplify stories and art and culture on the ground in the country from not only myself as an artist, but many other artists, many other creatives, other hardworking people in the country. Doctors, engineers, storytellers. I really want to show the beauty, the excellence that comes from the country that many times is overshadowed by whatever's covered in the news that day. That whether it's a natural disaster or poverty, which are things that we face, but don't define us. And so I really do everything I can in my power to amplify the stories of beauty and the stories of strength, because in seeing more of that, not only does it change perceptions worldwide, but it allows other Haitians to reframe themselves and to better understand themselves and to also have hope so that they know what they can accomplish when things are possible.
And you have, of course, have toured across the US, coast to coast, with other Haitian artists. What do you tell people about Haiti when you meet them, when you perform?
I try not to tell them anything. I try to make them experience the shows, because Bayo, the tour that that I founded a couple years ago with an amazing group of Haitian artists across genres. It means to give or give it to them in Creole, by you. And that tour to me is Haitian culture on display in a way that I don't think many people in the world have seen outside of Haiti. And I feel like that's the most effective way to transport you to our world and to our sounds, is by actually being at a show, listening to the music.
It certainly sounds wonderful. But I want to look back on certainly what Haiti's been dealing with the last few weeks since that devastating earthquake hit. More than 2,000 people lost their lives. You've partnered with GoFundMe on a matching donation campaign to help raise funds. How much has been raised so far? Which organizations are you working with?
So we're in the process right now of putting together the campaign and launching it publicly. Right now, a lot of the things that we've been working on are setting up the hub and setting up the partnerships with all the organizations that are being vetted right now. But the core of this project is there are some amazing organizations that are Haitian-led on the ground in the south of the country that we want to amplify, support, and tell the stories as well, because I think there's a lot of stories of triumph and of Haitian leaders across many different fields, medical field, engineering, and just humanitarian efforts across the board, that are actually dealing with the tragedies, and their stories are not being amplified. And I think it's really important for people to see that there are Haitians, a majority of which are helping the country versus international aid. And I think it's that collaborative effort that is going to allow the country to be actually sustained in a way where the reconstruction efforts and the work being done right now to fix the South, but also the rest of the island, they last, and they're Haitian stories. So that's what we're working on right now. I'm very excited to properly launch it, because we're partnering with some amazing people, and it's a big one.
Yeah, it's a great effort. And it's not the only thing you've been working on. You and other activists have also fought to remove a Netflix show about AIDS in Haiti. And you succeeded in that. Just tell us about that.
So that documentary, unfortunately, had a huge misinformation run for, I think it spent about 5 or 6 minutes discussing Haiti and Haiti and its relation to the AIDS epidemic in the US, which was debunked multiple times in history. And we have one of the leading, in Haiti, we have one of the leading AIDS and HIV research institutes in the world, called GISQ, that has done so much work, and in collaboration with other institutes around the world, to help fight HIV. And I think that this story that was in the documentary, to have that present after it's been known for so long, was a big surprise and disrespectful in many different ways. And so I appreciate the fact that Netflix acted quickly when myself and many other people in the Haitian creative industry petitioned for it to be removed.
You certainly are a wonderful ambassador for Haiti, and obviously a great DJ, a great musician. Thank you so much for your time today, Michael Breen.
Thank you so much.
Well, thanks so much for watching One World. I'm Linda Kincaid. Stay with CNN. Inside Africa is next.